was boring. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's nothing here.
How do you f this up?
We had a super chat come in, says, thank you, Razor, for calling out the state of wrestling and how much it sucks. It's never been worse than today. I think WWE are one of the architects of fan/nostalgia baiting that other companies copied. Did you have a video about this or something?
I've talked about it for years. I mean, I talk about it a fair amount on social media. I didn't have a recent video or anything that talked about it. I think in a few of the rants that I did, last week or whatever, I think I mentioned a few, because I'll tend to slip in just how bad WWE is reference, because it's really, really, really bad. Really bad.
Have you watched any of it in the last, I don't know, couple years or so?
Has anyone with taste? It's terrible. It's fucking terrible. 1996 was the lowest ratings for Raw ever, and they're breaking those records right now.
Right.
Shattering.
So the crazy thing about that, though, is that they're obviously social media didn't exist then, but they're killing it on social media, right?
Yeah, but a lot of that I think is astroturfed. I think they're working a lot of people. They're carnies. You gotta understand.
Yeah,
they're carnies. They're working. I think a lot of their social media interaction is fake. I mean, just straight up, I think it's fake. And then they have basically been making record profits every year by grifting essentially the television networks by leveraging their brand identity, like how recognizable it is, worldwide, and using that to secure these crazy like crossover deals, the streaming deal with Peacock or the renewal with Raw. But now what's starting to happen after several years of doing that in order to make record profits, the networks are actually starting to catch on. Hey, wait a minute. Like, we paid them outlandish sums of money and we're getting 1.5 ratings for Raw. Like, we could put a reality show on, spend nothing on it, and get twice that, if not more, right? And that's for a bad failed reality show. What are we doing here? And so Raw, for the first time ever that I'm aware of, had their asking price denied by the USA Network. USA Network just straight up said, nope, we're not going to meet that price, so come down. And I think they've rejected now 2 of their proposals for the Raw renewal. And before that, of course, the Fox Network, which was a huge deal, they kicked SmackDown off. They canceled it. So now that's on USA again. It's oh man, it's not a great time for the business, but it's one of those businesses, kind of like video games, kind of like comics, where they're just in this gilded bubble of cope, where no matter what happens, they have a rationale for precisely why they're profoundly fucking failing.
I think, for me, the product itself, as somebody who grew up with it, I'd say in my late teens, like most people, I was really big in it in the late 90s, early 2000s. And
everyone was. It was huge.
Right. It was massive. Right. And, the NWO was awesome. It was cool. It was DX was cool. And, WCW versus WWF. There's not, like, AEW was a great thing for the business just for like a year or two, right? Yeah. And now they're just kind of a company. They're not seen as a viable competitor to WWE. They're just this other federation. Yeah. But there hasn't been anything to bring me in. And I thought there would be something like when CM Punk came back to WWF and WWE, and that was like 3 weeks ago now, right? His first promo back, I was like, well, I better watch Raw, and I'm sure they saw some sort of.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure they did. But I tuned in, I watched it, and it was boring. I was like, okay, there's nothing here.
How do you fuck this up? If Vince Russo, who I know personally and who used to write the show, by the way, if you ever want to interview him, I think he would love to be on. I think he's freaking great.
1,000%.
Like the most controversial dude in pro wrestling. He pointed this out, and he's dead right. He's like, wait a minute. Bro. He said bro like 50 times, of course. Listen, CM Punk gets fired on his wedding day by this company. And his first promo back is, I'm home.
Right.
Blow me! Like, what are you doing? How do you squander that fucking momentum? I do not understand that at all. Like, snatching bankruptcy from the jaws of profitability.
You would think he'd come back and say, like, so something effective like, they paid me this bag. I got this contract, and I'm here to destroy this whole thing and kind of go like go like old school Vince with his NWO. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill my creation, right?
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna inject a poison.
I forgot my glasses. Shit. Hold on. No, we're going wrestling today. Yeah, okay. But it's nuts, man. And what a great question.
That, by the way, in the Attitude Era, everyone had sunglasses.
Right. Everyone did have sunglasses. The Rock would take his off. I think Stone Cold was the only one who, Stone Cold he started off with those big circle glasses, didn't he? Yes.
And Bret Hart had the John Lennon glasses. Yeah.
Well, either way, man, you know who does is the guy he's like my age and he's getting over now for the first time. LA Knight. He's like, he looks like Shawn Michaels 25 years ago with his whole get up and stuff. But man, should we do a wrestling podcast? Good Lord. That's awesome. I love that.
We'll have to work a little bit of wrestling into the show every now and then.
Yeah, man.
Because it is going down like the Titanic and it's kind of fun to watch.
Wow. But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.